Looking for amazing products to help boost your first-class lifestyle? Then head over to firstclasslifeshop.com, where you can treat yourself to personal development books and workbooks, lifestyle affirmation cards, adult coloring books, mugs, notebooks, hoodies, t-shirts, leggings, and more. All products were designed to help you master your mindset, walk in your purpose, and live your first-class life because you deserve it. So treat yourself today at firstclasslifeshop.com. Again, that's firstclasslifeshop.com.
Here from the south side of Evansville. How am I in this circle? Because I had the confidence to be in that circle. Like my skill set got me to a point to where my confidence took me a little bit farther. So you start finding yourself in situations and circumstances that you didn't see coming, but your confidence got you there.
I like what you said. I need you to repeat that for the folks in the balcony. I think you said your skill set got you to a certain point, and then your confidence took you a little bit farther.
Yeah, your skill set's only going to get you so far, but it's the attributes that come with your skill set, your confidence, your leadership skills. That's what's going to take you to the next level. Everybody knows what you're capable of doing, but they might not trust you until you exude one of those skill sets that they don't know nothing about. Like they know who Lindsey is, they know who Juan is, but it takes a little bit of that extra oomph to make them say, you know.
You're listening to the First Class Life Show, hosted by Lindsey Vertner, a holistic personal development show for high-achieving leaders who desire to maximize their impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So grab a drink, grab your notebook, and let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of the First Class Life podcast, and I am super excited for y'all to meet my old-time friend, Juan Hustle. Listen, y'all, I have known this dude since, I don't even remember, back in grade school years. We're both from the same hometown. Did I say hometown? I don't know what a hoe town is. A town full of hoes? I don't know. But we're both from the same hometown. And I have just had the honor of watching him grow and become this phenomenal young man. And I just am so excited for you to hear his journey and the things that he's overcome throughout his life. So listen, I'm going to shut up and we're just going to hop right into it. So Mr. Juan Hustle, I need you to let these folks know, who are you really? Like, give us the tea on who is Juan.
Oh, that's such a broad question. I'm Juan Hustle, 20-year media personality, currently with iHeart Media, originally from Evansville, Indiana. Had an opportunity to work all across the country. I come from incredibly humble beginnings. I've overcome everything from homelessness, a lot of childhood trauma, single parent home. I'm the middle of 6-7 children, so I'm right there in the middle. And I just had an opportunity to walk in a light that I didn't realize was going to take me all around the country and all around the world. And just to be able to sit across from Lindsey and be on this platform, this is like life coming full circle. Like we go all the way back to when we was kids, and now we're both out here popping and we trying to make it make sense. But currently I'm with iHeart Media. I'm a multimedia account executive, radio personality, digital content expert, all of that. So all that and the above, man. I'm really honored to be here.
Yes, listen. I don't think I realized you had 6 siblings.
Yeah.
Did I know that? Yeah. I don't feel like I knew that. That felt like it was news to me.
As a couple of weeks ago, I think it's starting to grow, but we're going to find out. You know, families, black families got their secrets, so we just uncovering some things. You know.
Listen, I understand. Okay, I understand. But so how many did you actually grow up with in your household?
In our household, it was 5 of us. My mom raised us with my auntie and my grandmother. I got 3 brothers and then my youngest sister. We all lived, the 5 of us lived with my mom, my aunt, and my grandmother. So I was always groomed around women.
With that said, because I know as a leader, it's important to understand your identity and who you are and the things you stand for and things like that. But with having so many siblings, did you struggle to figure out who you are versus like being, oh, that's such and such brother, or, being who they expect you to be or shove you in a role? How did that come about?
Early on, it was a little difficult for me because I always try to model myself after my three oldest brothers, my brother Barry, my brother Dante, and my brother Mario. Especially when it came to sports, my brother Dante and my brother Barry was already well known in our hometown for sports. And when I started playing basketball early on, I wanted to be like them. And then I had to learn that being a middle child, it comes with middle child syndrome. Like, we do everything by ourselves. We don't need nobody for nothing. We're like the lone wolf. And early on in my childhood, I just started to develop this sense of pride amongst myself to figure out how life goes without actually latching on to my brothers, because they my older brothers. They don't want to be tagging along their little brothers. So I had to figure that out for myself.
That's so funny that you said that, because my older brother and I, we are 7-ish years apart.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a younger brother, but I grew up closer with my older brother because we are closer in age. And so I wanted to be like my older brother, even though I was the girly girl me, like he was my hero. It's like, I want to do everything that he does. I want to, oh, you going out? I want to go too. And I know he used to hate having to babysit me, and I would play in his room with my Barbie dolls when he was gone.
Wow. Yeah. Like my older brothers, like especially my brother Dante, he's well known for his pizza restaurant in our hometown now, Dante's Holland Pizza Parlor. And I used to like tag along to the Boys and Girls Club. Wherever he had a basketball game, I was coming with my shorts and basketball shoes ready to play because my brother was playing. I was trying to be better than him. And he was like, man, you're not going to keep following me around. Like, I had to learn to separate myself from that.
Yes. So what were some of those steps that you took in learning to separate yourself from your brothers?
Some of the steps that I had to take early on is I had to teach myself a sense of confidence. I didn't really have like a father figure around. So I would latch on to certain male figures in our hometown and learn everything from how they dressed, how they spoke, shaking people's hands properly. I would just latch on to the people that I eventually wanted to become. A couple of them was Artrell Harris, Shamario, let me see, who else? Courtney Crawley, he was huge. Courtney Crawley was like, he's still like my big brother to this day. And Brian Dickerson, we had a leader at the YMCA YCAP program named Brian Dickerson. I told myself, when I grow up, I'm going to dress just like that guy. I'm like, from top to bottom, the suits, the ties, I'm going to dress just like them. So I always try to model myself after people that I wanted to be when I was later on in life.
Listen, I love that you bring that up because, oftentimes we have to get out of our comfort zone and go out and seek the things that we desire to be. And that's a good reason why people can stay stuck, because it's like, oh, well, this is all I know. And so it's hard for them to dream bigger. And so you had models around you in the community that's like, okay, that's what I desired to be when I was older. How do you think your life would have turned out if you didn't have those models? Because I know that can be an issue for some people. They don't know what's possible because they've never seen it.
Yeah, this is true. We actually just had this conversation. Me and a group of my fellows had this conversation a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, if I didn't have those type of models around me, I think I would be like another statistic. And unfortunately, those statistics are kind of bad right now. And that's why even at the platform and the age where I'm at today, if I see a young guy or a young fella, a high schooler struggling, even my nieces and nephews, I'm quick to extend that hand because early on, I didn't have that. And I didn't know that I was doing it the right way. So a lot of these young people, they're struggling because they don't have that sense of pride and looking up to a certain people because it's not around them. They're surrounded by a lot of negativity. So I think each of us who actually have a sense of understanding and how life works, I think that's our natural responsibility to actually reach out and like touch these young people, man, because at the end of the day, they are our future. So just to just to have that, be able to have that sense of I ain't going to call it entitlement, but just to know that that's what I needed to do to get to where I wanted to be. I just latched onto it early.
I love that because, whenever we learn more and do more, there is a piece of us that needs to reach back and help others. Now, I don't want that to be confused with giving too much where it's draining you out and you're not walking in your purpose. You're at your own detriment. Speaking of, let's go there for a second, because I know, especially in the Black community, we often feel obligated to help everybody, especially when we're the first ones making it. So how did you balance like reaching back and helping others that came from the same place versus maintaining that level of self-care and making sure that you weren't drained and not having any boundaries?
For me, it was really natural because I come from that background of struggle. And when you come from that background of struggle and you feel like you're outside of it, you can easily identify what's going on with the young people that are currently in that struggle. And honestly, God put you in positions to where you don't even realize you're helping these people, but you're really helping them. And then at the end of the day, it gives you a fire to keep it going. So right when I was starting to get bored in my on-air career, I was like, man, I got to do something that makes me feel like I'm giving back. And when I started that process of giving back, all I started noticing is that I got more successful in my career. So I was like, I hear you up there, God. I said, okay. So I'm reaching out, touching young people. And next thing you know, ratings go through the roof every city I'm in. And it just all started to make sense. So I'm like, yeah, I needed that. Okay. Okay.
That is an important gem that I hope everybody caught that is tuned in right now, because where we put our focus, that is where our energy goes, and we attract more of that into our life. So that makes me think of, how people say, oh, I'm broke, or I can't afford that, or I don't got the money for that, or blah, 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 right? And it's like, well, you always focusing on how broke you are. You only attracted more lack into your life. You only attracted more poverty into your life. And it's the same for all areas, right? And so whenever you were in that serving position where you're like, I'm just going to serve, I'm going to do what I'm called to do. I'm going to take my talents and my skills and I'm going to serve. It actually attracted more abundance. And you're like, okay.
Right. That's honestly exactly what it did for me. And it started around sophomore year of high school. The YCAP program and the Diamonds program at Evansville YMCA. We took a college road trip to Clark, Atlanta, Spelman, and Morehouse. First time ever going to Atlanta. I was like 15, 16 years old. And just to see how everybody was interacting and people was actually asking other people, how can I help you? How can I help you? Man, that became infectious. Like, if it wasn't for that experience, I don't think I would know how to carry myself, even as a young man and as a grown man, and even as the man I am now. Like, that experience early on, it kind of planted a seed in me, and it just continued to grow ever since then.
Yes. See, look, we have to, as much as we can, open our eyes and our experiences to things outside of us, because it does allow us to see what is possible, especially when we're not accustomed to that. And I know some people live very, very sheltered lives, unfortunately. But what is a tip that you can share with somebody who maybe has, been kind of in their circle, in their little bubble? What is a tip that you can share for them to get outside of their comfort zone and start to open up their eyes to more?
Never be too prideful to ask for help. Even at the age I am now, if it's something that you know you can do, never be too prideful to ask for help. Because at the end of the day, if you're sitting at the table and you're the smartest person at that table, you're at the wrong damn table. So I always tell people, like, hey, reach out. Like, reach out. If you don't know how to do something, if you don't know how to figure it out, reach out to somebody that does. Grow from that. Because at the end of the day, as you're growing, that person is growing, and the person that's coming behind you is going to be growing from it. So reach out and ask for help. Stop. Don't sit there and just wonder, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? If you don't know how to do it, reach out and ask for help. Like, that's it. Like, reach out and ask for help, and I guarantee you're going to figure it out, and you're going to be able to teach the next 10 people behind you how to figure it out, too.
Yes, yes. Especially if you aren't the person that you desire to be.
Right.
Like, it can all be that simple as starting with asking someone for help.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you said that. Okay. Now, speaking of such, you mentioned it already, and I know that you've experienced homelessness. So tell us a little bit about that journey, how that occurred, how you were able to overcome that. Did you have to reach out and ask for help during that moment? So just share with us about that time.
Yeah, the childhood was rough. My mom, she could only do so much by herself with the 5 of us. And it was times that even a couple of my friends that I'm still friends with in our hometown, like, they know exactly where I come from. It was days where I would have to take cat naps at Bear Park. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people who know me for who I am, like, they remember that. Like, they remember when I was wearing shoes that was like 10 times my size because I didn't have any other shoes to wear. Just going through that experience and then watching how strong my mom was through that experience, it kind of gave me an inner fire to be, if not as strong, but stronger. Like, you have to be strong through life. Just seeing how my mother would reach out to family and friends and then get shunned away, and seeing the emotions that she went through, it kind of lit that fire into me that, like, not everybody around you is going to help you. So you're going to have to figure this out for yourself. So homelessness was like an up and down cycle all the way through high school. To be quite honest, I didn't get my very own bed until I got to college. A lot of people don't realize that. Freshman year of college, Indiana State University, that was my first bed. 18 years old, I didn't get my first bed until actually 18 years old. I slept on many floors. And hell, when I feel like I'm above myself to this day, I sleep on the floor just to humble myself. Hey, sometimes you got to take it back to the roots to make sure that you don't forget who you are as a person and mess up the trajectory of where you're going, because you got to humble yourself.
I love that. Now, I know that probably did something emotionally on the inside of you. And I'm sure we'll get into it about, things you had to unlearn and the mindset that it takes to make that shift, because oftentimes when we are experiencing such extremes in life, like poverty to success, there's a lot of inner struggle that we don't realize is going on in being able to maintain success or, not self-sabotage. So going back to that moment where you had your own bed, what emotionally were you going through? To be like, man,
that first semester was rough, man. That first semester was rough. When you get your first bed, like when you get to college and that college lifestyle experience, I was playing sports at the time too. So when you get to that experience of having your first bed, and then you're starting to step into your manhood, and you're in a college setting, like, things can happen fast. You gotta learn how to wind it in. Like, you gotta slow it down a little bit, because life will humble you fast. But winding back to my childhood with my mom, seeing how she was with 5 kids on her own. When I got that first bed in college and I started receiving attention from women and girls, and like I was starting to become that guy, I just knew that because of what we went through as children, like, wrap it up. I don't want no kids. That was like one of the major things in college. I was like, nah, like, you don't want no kids. Like, nah, I got 2 now, but not that early. Like, I seen what my mom went through. I can't even do it. Can't even do it. And even my girlfriend at the time, we had that conversation. I was like, nah, I don't want kids. No. Not even for me. Not right now. So yeah, that first experience of sleeping in my own bed. Matter of fact, I had FUBU. FUBU had sheets. I went to the Walmart in Terre Haute when I got to Terre Haute, and FUBU had this blue comforter set. And I remember it was like $20. Man, I had FUBU sheets. You couldn't tell me nothing for that semester. You couldn't tell me nothing. I went from poverty, sleeping on the floor, sleeping on couches, to sleeping with FUBU sheets. You can't tell me nothing. You can't tell me nothing. Give me the FUBU sheets. It was blue. It was a navy blue and North Carolina blue. You couldn't tell me nothing. You couldn't tell me nothing.
FUBU was the brand back in the day. Listen,
Let me find that FUBU.
for those of
I need
you,
a FUBU hoodie with the big logo. I need one of those. And a size 2X, I need that. I need that.
for anyone that may be listening and may be unfamiliar with the brand FUBU, 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 stands for Us, By Us,
Yes.
by the Shark Tank extraordinaire himself, Mr. Damon John. He was the creator of that. He started that line from scratch and built it into this big phenomenon of a brand and had everybody wearing it. So I could only imagine.
Yes. Yes. I was like, yes. Yes. You can tell me that for that first semester.
Man, oh man. So you're in college now. You're becoming this it guy. You know, you seeking the attraction of the ladies. What are some things that you had to unlearn? Because I know that that is a big thing for a lot of us. We don't realize how much we have to unlearn from the things that we grew up from, the things that we were taught and believing, so that we can continue healthily and successfully throughout life. So what were some of the main things that you had to unlearn?
I had to reteach myself and unlearn how not to be so distracted. Because I knew the opportunity of college, I was actually the second person, maybe the third person in my family to actually go away to college. So I had to unlearn the idea of being easily distracted. And that college experience coming from the inner city, like you getting on this college campus, it's a melting pot of people from all around your region and all around the world, honestly. You can easily become distracted. So you got to hunker in and learn and find a new way of getting that fire going in you, because you could be studying 1 minute and then somebody drop a jewel on you that a party is about to happen down the street and you just want to go to that party. So I had to unlearn that. Like, I'm not at high school. I'm not the smartest guy in high school anymore. So I had to unlearn that and just learn how to refocus my energy. And I think that happened at a critical time, because when you're fresh in college, especially coming from the inner city, the minute you have an opportunity to touch gold, you don't want to let it go. You don't want to fumble that piece of gold. So, and I knew college at that time was a piece of gold for me. And I wasn't going back to Evansville by any means. The minute I got out of Evansville, I wasn't going back. It wasn't nothing to go back to. And even to this day, ever since my mom passed away, man, I'm only there 24 hours. That's all I need. I see my brothers, see my sister, my niece and nephews, and I'm out. So, yeah, that's a part of it. Like, once you latch onto that piece of gold, you don't want to let it go. And I knew that college for me at that time was a piece of gold, and I was trying my best not to go back home.
I think that's important about the benefit of being intentional. And understanding your starting point and where you would like your finish line to be. We know that life is an ongoing journey, so there's never really a finish line, but understanding how far you've come. So for example, I know a lot of times, sometimes people will say, oh, I don't make plans. I don't set goals. I just go wherever the wind takes me. And, that's fine for a moment or two. But ultimately, the reason why the majority of people find ourselves in cycles, and you're like, how am I still here 5 years later? How am I still here 10 years later? Is because you don't recognize your starting point and you don't recognize where you desire to be and what that looks like. So for you to say college was gold and I know where I don't want to go back to. So let me do what I need to do. So I make sure that I continue to hold on to this gold and grow this gold.
Right.
So I don't go back to the starting line. So what was that process like for you?
It came fairly easy for me. It came easy for me because early on in life, I already had this sense of conviction that I was going to break my family's generational curses. And I still hold true to that to this day. And for a lot of people, old and young, that's a heavy burden to carry. But it takes the strongest person in each generation to do that. So I knew early on, it's a generational curse that I have to break within my family. Because if I don't break it, it's just going to continue to do its thing going into the next generation. And I need to make sure that my nieces and nephews, my two sons. I got to make sure that they see something that's going to inspire them to not go a certain different way that they shouldn't go. And early on in our lives, we didn't really have that person to look up to outside of our mom. So that's why we all latched on to her. That's why we always looked at her as that guide in life, because that's all we had. But now we're at an age in our family where, like, we understand these generational curses. So you have to step up and stop complaining. You got to fix it. Like, you're not fixing it for yourself. You're fixing it for the bloodline. So you got to be really willing to anchor in and try to and right that ship, because at the end of the day, every family got something negative going on. Like, every family has it. Like, nobody's immune to negativity. It's all about how you react to it to try to fix it.
Ooh, yes. Breaking those generational curses. Mm-hmm. That is quite a weight to carry.
A hell of a weight to carry.
You know, if we're not careful, we can really let us break it down, because I'm in that same position of breaking the generational curse, building the legacy. And what are some ways that you maintain mentally, emotionally, physically, so that you don't allow the weight of that process to break you down?
I've always been a traveler. Ever since that Atlanta experience, I got to be on the highway or on a plane every weekend. I travel. I just came back from Jamaica. I was down there for 10 days, and then I like traveling and just feeding my mind stuff that's going to help continue to develop it. Because the minute you stop feeding your mind positivity and stuff to help develop it, you start to die. So, so every opportunity I get to feed into myself something positive, whether it's going to a new restaurant, going to a concert, a play, traveling and seeing a new destination, I got to do that. Like, I'm not doing it because I want to do it. I'm doing it because I need to, because I got a burden that I got to carry as soon as I get back to reality.
You see right behind me?
Yeah.
My travel mat.
When you first got on, that's okay. She's been around the world. Okay.
Yes. I think I'm always like, dang, I already scratched that one. We got to go there again. Like, I'll go, but I really want to scratch a new place off.
I'm trying to scratch off Africa and Dubai this year. That's the two big ones I'm looking to go this year. So as soon as I get those scratched off, I'm good to go.
Yes, you're going to love it. If you should go to Egypt, let me know. I can give you the name of my driver and he can coordinate everything that you want to do. So
one of my best friends just came back from Egypt, and he's trying to get me to go with him in May. I'm going to see if I can work it out and go over there. He's pretty much a pastor here in the Louisville area. And I think he's in Sudan right now. He's all over the world. Like, he leaves here and travels for like 3 or 4 weeks at a time. So I told him, the next time you go to Egypt or Morocco, I'm going. Like, I got to go.
Yes, you got to. I haven't been to Morocco, but definitely been to Egypt. So let me know if you want some tips on that.
I will be reaching out.
Yes. So what would you say were some of those obstacles that you've had to overcome in life? Like, I know of a few, but, we mentioned about, just carrying the weight of breaking those generational curses. And oftentimes we are hit with obstacles in life, maybe emotional, mental, physical, that's really going to test our faith and our ability to keep pushing forward. So what would you say are some of those obstacles that you've had to overcome?
I just had to overcome an obstacle back in November. My younger brother, Darrell, he passed away of a drug overdose in Evansville. And that was probably the heaviest obstacle of my life. That was heavier than losing my mom, my grandmother, and my grandfather. Just dealing with my younger brother's death and like seeing him in that state, that taught me that I think the pain was one thing about losing a loved one, especially somebody who's really, really close to you and somebody younger than you, is that it's not necessarily the pain of losing them or tragically losing them or just their life expiring. It's just the pain of knowing you had so much more love to give that person. And they won't be able to live and experience that love. So you have to learn how to channel them and talk to them in a different spectrum because they're not here anymore. So learning to get over that, not necessarily get over it, but to live without my younger brother's presence. That was a tough one, and I'm still 2-3 months later still dealing with that. Like that's a tough one, and everybody knows that me and my younger brother was like water and oil. That was my guy. That was my guy. He was actually here in Louisville for the last 3 days of his life before he went back to Evansville and passed away later that evening, 3 days later. So yeah, just learning to the easiest way to say it is that when you lose somebody that's close to you, you just learn to love them in a different space. You continue to love them for the past and the memories, but they're not here to receive the love that you was giving them. So you have to learn how to love them in a different space. And especially when there's children involved, you gotta be that person to step up for that person's children as well. And I'm learning that process now. He left behind four kids, my nieces and nephews. So me just being that uncle that now they looking to more as a father figure. Like that's a burden that I hate to take, but I have to take. You know what I'm saying? Because I would much rather my brother be here to raise his kid, but unfortunately he's not. So that's probably the biggest obstacle in my life at this point.
Wow. Well, first off, my condolences.
Thank you.
And then also kudos to you for just being willing to step up. What went into that decision and being like, I don't know how this going to work out, but we going to make it work out? Because that's something big to take on.
Yeah.
And not everybody has the courage to do that. So what did that look like for you?
Honestly, it was easier. It was easier than I thought it was because I knew how hurt his children were, especially his two oldest. I actually just talked to them last night, and they're still having a hard time with it. So knowing that they had somebody to look up to now that was already been positive his whole life and overcome a lot of challenges, it was almost like God was like, he kind of placed me in this position in these circumstances because now it's bigger than just me. Now it's bigger than just me and my two sons. Like it involves like the whole next generation. So I couldn't allow myself to be weak or vulnerable because I have all these children that's looking up to me now. And unfortunately, you have to sacrifice yourself. You got to find out what you need to sacrifice yourself for because at the end of the day, it's not just about you. Like your emotions and who you are as a person is going to affect how the next generation deals with it when it hits them. Because at the end of the day, life continues to move. You continue to grow and develop. But how you choose to grow and develop, the next generation is watching you. So if they watching you in a positive light, they're gonna follow that positive light. If they watch you in a negative light, they're gonna follow that negative light. So my younger brother's passing back in November. Like it was just an instant. Like wake up. Like it's not about you no more. Wake up. Like these kids need you. So I just stepped up and I'm just walking in my purpose at this point.
So I know you mentioned that you love to travel and that helps to fill you up, but what are some other ways that you practice self-care, especially when you're dealing so much?
Honestly, reading a book. Like that's peaceful. Audiophile's been taking all my money lately. Will Smith's book, 48 Laws of Power, those kind of books is like what's always feeding into me. But picking up reading the book, like sometimes you gotta escape where you are mentally just by simply picking up a book. I don't think people realize how easily you can get out the space that you're in by simply sitting down reading something. Like that'll take you.
I like that.
Yeah, that'll completely take you out of where you at in that current moment. And then by the time you put down that book, what you were stressing over 15 minutes ago, you like, well, anyway, they just went to Africa. Like you thinking of a whole different. Like it's simple stuff like that. Simple stuff that you can put in your mind to help stimulate positive growth and development. You gotta do that. You gotta take that time to like really feed yourself because at the end of the day, only person responsible for feeding you is you.
Are you loving the First Class Live show? Then join our private Patreon community. Not only will you help to support our ability to provide you with great content, but you can also get exclusive perks like bonus videos and resources, discounts, episode transcripts, and more. So what are you waiting for? Join today at patreon.com/first class life. Again, that's Patreon, patreon.com/first class life. Yeah, you have to feed yourself because you have to remember you only have so much in your cup. And I'm sure many people are familiar with, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
And what happens is a lot of times we will keep pouring, and there's a misconception that we're supposed to pour from what's inside of the cup, and that's not what happens. And so we have to find the different ways that we can fill our cup up, but not only fill it up, but allow it to overflow. Because technically, we're supposed to share and serve and give from the overflow. Everything inside of the cup. Look, I got a cup right here. Let's go. Visual aids, yeah? Everything inside of the cup is for us to remain energized and us to remain capable mentally, emotionally, physically, all of the things for us to keep going. And then we use things like reading or traveling or, listening to motivational speakers to fill us up to where the liquid flows on the outside. And that's what we serve. And so I always say self-care is not selfish, and we have to be intentional about prioritizing our self-care, because when our cup is empty, not only are we hurting ourselves, but we're hurting everybody that is connected to our purpose and that we're meant to serve as well.
This is true.
So, geez Louise, serious stuff here. Serious stuff. I don't know if you've ever heard of the purpose of the saucers and the teacup. Like, this is not a teacup, but everybody can picture an actual teacup with a saucer around it. And so what the saucer was for is, like, it used to be a sign of wealth and respect. So whenever the royals, you would come over, I invite you over for tea, and I would have my butler pour you some tea. Okay. And essentially the butler was supposed to pour it to where it starts overflowing, because that meant that I respected you, and that meant that I was wealthy and, a status symbol. And if I didn't, fill your teacup to where it was overflowing, then, maybe I'm having financial issues, or I didn't respect you enough. That's why they had the saucers on the teacup, because that was a sign of respect and wealth and things like that. And I don't think a lot of people know that. And we missed that part of the fill your cup up analogy.
As much tea as I drank, I didn't even know that.
Yes. I don't know where I learned that from, but I had learned it, and then I looked it up, to see if it was real and all that stuff. And it stuck with me ever since. And it's like, it makes so much more sense, because oftentimes we are trying to serve on E, and we think we're doing a great job. And it's like, if you were at full capacity, how much better would you be?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I like that. That's deep. That's deep. That's deep.
Yes, this has been so awesome. And we have so much more that we're going to get into. But first, I think that this would be a great time for a game that I call First Class Favorites.
All right.
Let me get my timer out if you are up for playing. All right. Got my timer, got my stopwatch here. And how this game works is I'm going to say, what's your favorite? And you fill in the blank.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, I'm going to fill in the blank and you got to answer. But you only have 10 seconds to answer.
Okay.
All right. So if anybody is maybe keeping score or taking shots if he misses, I don't know. Then you want to make sure that whenever you miss the buzzer, that we're going to see how well you do, how drunk you get the folks. Okay.
That'll work. Let's go.
And listen, hashtag no judgment zone. You might be taking shots of water or shots of energy booster or shots of whiskey. I don't know. But so we'll start you with an easy one.
All right.
What is your favorite color? Go.
Purple.
Purple. Yes, I love purple as well. See, nice and easy. That wasn't too hard, was it?
Not at all.
You got it with plenty of time to spare.
Yep.
What's your favorite movie? Go.
Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Why do you like that one? And this isn't in the.
It was always a tie between Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile. Those are my two favorite movies. I can never separate the two. Like everybody asks me, it's always going to be one of those two. One of those two. One of those two.
Okay, now I think that you can get this one fairly quickly because you like to read. What's your favorite book? Go.
48 Laws of Power.
Okay. Yep. Yes, 48 Laws of Power. And listen, everybody, make sure you are a member of our Patreon community because some of these favorites, we have a running list of all of our phenomenal guests. So we have a first class favorite reads, i.e. you will now see the 48 Laws of Power added to that list. We have, I can't tell you the rest because we haven't said them yet. But what is your favorite food? Go.
Italian. Anything Italian.
Oh, something specific.
Either spaghetti or lasagna. Lasagna. I'm going to say lasagna.
You got it. I thought you was going to miss the buzzer on that one.
Nope, not at all. Not at all.
You still made it with 0.5 seconds to spare. What is your favorite activity to relax? Go.
Traveling. Somewhere with water. I need to be around water. With beautiful blue water. Traveling. Yep.
Yes, water can be very calming.
Definitely.
Speaking of traveling, what's your favorite place to travel? Go.
Jamaica. Definitely Jamaica.
Jamaica.
Without a doubt.
So when you just went, was that your first time going or have you been multiple times?
I've been down there. That was the second time I've been down there, but that was the most fun I've had down there, period. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jamaica was nice. Jamaica was nice. Nice. That side of Jamaica that I got to see this time was nice. Fellas, it was nice. Yes. All right, I'm sorry.
I'm going to need more details on that later on, okay? What is your favorite quotes? Go.
My favorite quotes. It's so many quotes. I can't think off of the top of my head. That's a hard one. I lost that one. Can't win them all. You can't win them all.
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Because it makes you think a little harder.
Right.
If you think of one, you can still share it with us. But definitely our first class favorite list, we're going to have first class favorite reads, places to travel, because, I'm all about traveling.
Yeah.
Relaxing activity and song, because we have to have our first class playlist. So if you are in the Patreon community, make sure you check out our first class favorites list from our phenomenal guest here. They have helped us to curate a top-notch piece of a top that didn't flow the way I thought of it in my head. A top-notch piece of a top-notch piece of fill in the blank, okay? However you need for that to be. So, I'm going to direct your attention to the chat, Mr. Juan Hustle.
Okay.
Because First Class Life is actually an acronym. Mm-hmm. And it represents all of the skills and characteristics that one should embody to create a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness, one that you genuinely enjoy. And so if you are new to the show and you are unfamiliar with what First Class Life stands for, then make sure you go back and listen all the way to the very first episode of the First Class Life podcast, where I explain each one in detail. Or you could always buy the book at firstclasslifeshop.com, where if you like reading, you can read and actually walk away with the lessons and the bonuses and things like that. But meanwhile, so you see them over there in the chat?
Yes, I see them over in the chat.
Awesome, because I forgot to share them with you backstage. But which of those factors, that's just the first 10 key factors, the main ones, which of those factors do you feel you resonate with the most?
Probably confidence. Probably confidence. I think I like confidence. It took
Okay.
it took many years to get the level of confidence that I have now. And I'm confident in my confidence enough to know that confidence is probably my favorite word out of all those words right there. Confidence is all about leadership. Like I know I'm in media and I'm like the face of brands and I'm the face of a community, but I was very much an introvert growing up. And hell, I'm still an introvert to this day. And being in front of a camera, in front of microphones, I lose all that introvertness. So confidence is probably huge. Yep, confidence. I like
Yes.
yeah.
So the C in class of First Class Life stands for confident.
Yes, ma'am.
And share with us, what did it look like when you lacked confidence? How did you show up lacking confidence? Because a lot of people don't realize how much our confidence affects how we behave. So we're going to paint the picture before and after. How did you show up? What did it look like when you were lacking confidence?
Ooh, we can take it all the way back to the childhood. Man, I had somebody tell me, I'm not even gonna name this person. I still remember who she is though. But man, this is harsh. As a kid, she told me that I was one of my mom's ugliest children. So yeah, straight up, no lie. I'm not making this up. So all through my childhood, through high school, like my confidence was like, man, I was a turtle on the shell. Like it completely turned me into an introvert. I was confident, or I wasn't confident, but I was friendly speaking. I was smart in school, but outside of all that, I was a turtle in the shell. And even my closest friends from back then who know me now, they're like, man, you're a completely different person, because certain people back in that time period would feed negative stuff in me about who I was. He's tall, he's goofy looking. He's chunky, just tall and chunky and goofy. He wear glasses and all of that made me feel like I was less of a human. So getting around certain people, traveling and seeing people going to different events and functions and seeing how people of status would carry themselves, I kind of rubbed some of that energy off on me to help build up my confidence. So now when I walk into a room full of people to speak, or if I'm walking into a school to speak to children, like I'm exuding confidence, because you never know that the room you walk into, the table that you're sitting at, the microphone that you're speaking at, what you're about to exude, somebody in that room is going to need that. So you gotta display, be on your top 10 at all times, have that confidence, because it's going to be a young man or young lady that's going to need that. They see themselves in you. And how you react and respond to a situation, they're going to resonate off of you. So you really have to know how to groom that out of yourself. And getting to college and doing sports, being on radio all across the country, it built up that sense of confidence.
I love that. And I like that you said, you borrowed confidence from the people around you. And I don't remember if we said this earlier, but there's always an energy exchange.
Yeah.
People are either draining you out, or they are filling you up, or it's an equal exchange. And so I like that you pointed out, you never know who's going to need what it is that you're bringing to the table, directly and indirectly, consciously and subconsciously. And so it's important that we are confident in who we are, flaws and all, and being authentically ourselves. And so once you showed up confidently, you told us how you got it.
Right.
You borrowed it from other folks and built it up that way. But then once you had it, how did your life change? How did you show up? How did it attract different things to you?
I got to shake different hands. When you carry yourself more confidently, you start automatically, not automatically, but you start falling into circles that you didn't think you would ever fall into. And so once you get in those circles, your confidence starts to exude, and you're starting to speak with CEOs, start to speak with founders, tech industry giants, car industry giants, other media giants, and you're like, hold on, I'm a kid from the south side of Evansville. How am I in this circle? Because I had the confidence to be in that circle. Like my skill set got me to a point to where my confidence took me a little bit farther. So you start finding yourself in situations and circumstances that you didn't see coming, but your confidence got you there.
I like what you said. I need you to repeat that for the folks in the balcony. I think you said your skill set got you to a certain point, and then your confidence took you a little bit farther.
Yeah, your skill set's only going to get you so far. But it's the attributes that come with your skill set, your confidence, your leadership skills. That's what's going to take you to the next level. Everybody knows what you're capable of doing, but they might not trust you until you exude one of those skill sets that they don't know nothing about. Like, they know who Lindsey is. They know who Juan is. But it takes a little bit of that extra oomph to make them say, you know what? Come to the table. Let me talk to you about some things. I got an idea. So that confidence is what helped get me to those points. And that's kind of like why I'm walking so proud in it now.
I love it. Yes. So there's something I call CP, your confidence power.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing that I need for everybody to recognize is that you can be confident in a negative or a positive direction. Now, hopefully it's positive, but let me give you an example of the negative and why it's important to be intentional and self-aware about the things that you're doing and what you desire. Because have you ever been around somebody that you just knew that they was lying,
Mm-hmm.
or you knew that what they were saying was incorrect, but they were so confident that what they were saying was the truth, and you really looking at them like,
I'm working media. That's all you got to know. Like, that's all you got to know. Like, hey, I work in media. You know, I work in TV radio. I've been here for 20 years. I see it every day. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, so you're a used car salesman today. Oh, okay. All right. That car with 300,000 miles is the best one you got? All right. That's it. I hear you. Like, yeah.
And I'm sure you see it extra with folks pretending to be something that they are not.
Yes. Especially, oh my God, all walks of life. I'm not here to step on anybody, but I see it. As a matter of fact, before we got on this call, I had a phone call with somebody. I'm like, here they go. And then the second phone call is like, I needed that one because that person like helps me out. But the one before that, I'm like, here this person go. Let me hear what they got to say. So yeah, just like some folks are drained, some people are pouring into you. But yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's so important to be mindful of that because, like you said, you never know who's going to pick up what you put down.
Right.
And, you have the intelligence to recognize the good versus the bad, the positive versus the negative, but a lot of people don't. And I'm not calling anybody stupid, but, ignorant is a better word. They just don't know what they don't know. So whatever you put down is what they're going to pick up and they're going to hold it as truth. So it's important that we're intentional about how we're showing up and that we're walking with integrity as much as possible. I got a funny story about this and then, then we're going to move on.
Yep.
But one time I'm a planner. So everything is in my planner. If it ain't in my planner, it ain't happening. All right. And my schedule varies from day to day to day.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple years ago, back when I was still working in therapy and I had meetings and sessions with clients and all of that stuff, I went to check my voicemail, and we'll just say that it was Tuesday. That's what we'll say. I went to check my voicemail, and this guy had left me a voicemail, and he's like, "Hi, Lindsey, today is Wednesday, January 15th, and I was just leaving you this message." And I'm listening, and I'm like, looking at the time, I'm like, shit, I missed the meeting. Like, it's Wednesday? I was like, oh my gosh, I completely spaced on this meeting that I had. And I'm listening, and he said it at the beginning and the end of the call about it being Wednesday, such and such date. And I was like, oh my gosh, how did I miss this meeting? And then I'm like, wait, how did I miss this whole day? Because like I said, my schedules were different and I'm really trying to figure out how I messed up. And then eventually I had to laugh at myself because I was like, Lindsey, first of all, your schedules are different from day to day.
Right.
So obviously you didn't miss this meeting, but the fact that he was so confident in what he presented, it had me question myself. And I think that's a key thing for a lot of people to walk away with. I'm throwing myself under the bus here because sometimes the people around us can be so confident in what they're saying or what they're speaking over your life that we can start to take on those thoughts or those beliefs or those statements as our own. And that's not what we're called to be, or that's not what we know to be true.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that you mentioned that you had some people that weren't necessarily speaking the best into your life back then.
Mm-hmm.
How would you say that that impacted you? And how did you make that shift to understanding, like, wait, that's not who I am? Just because they said that doesn't mean that that's true.
Early on, it was very, very impactful. The younger you are, the more impressionable your mind is. So I started to walk around feeling like I was that ugly duckling. Like anytime somebody would turn down, you remember back in the day where we used to write the notes, do you like me, yes or no? Anytime somebody put no on there, I was like, I guess I am the ugly duckling. Like that kind of stuff was like hard on me. So it caused me to drift and be a loner and just really introverted. But over time, I like I said, I started feeding off of that confidence energy from certain men that I would be around. Whether it's a gala event, black tie event, a corporate setting, we got a studio artist coming in to sit down, I would feed off of that. And I'm like, okay, if this person can come in here wearing polish on their nails with high heels and still anyway, I guess I can feed off of that and be like, I don't know. So you teach yourself, and you kind of teach yourself to take away those negative components that have been fed into you, because obviously it was turning something in you to be something that you wouldn't, that it was giving off something out of you that you wouldn't necessarily about. That's not who you are. So just being able to identify that early on and smack it in the face before it got worse. Around college is when it started to turn around for me. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to turn into the it guy. I'm not the ugly duckling no more. So I guess that first bite of confidence was like, all right, here we go. Let's do it. Let's see where you can go with it. But yeah, it's very important to make sure that you leave the right impressions on young people. I say all that just to say that because these young minds that are out here, they don't have the leadership. A lot of the times, not to speak on family dynamics in the Black community, but a lot of the time, these young ladies and young women, they don't have those people to give those impressions. So you have to do your part, even if you don't feel that you got the energy to do it, just do it. Just do it, because you planting that seed in them is going to plant 1,000 trees just like them one day. So just take that opportunity to plant that seed so we can get a whole new force of different minds and different thinkers growing, because you're only going to be here for a limited time.
Yes, so true, so true. So I know that you have experienced something else that you've overcome, and I know that is something that a lot of people, it will rock their confidence, so to speak, because you go through physical changes, you go through emotional changes, and so much more. So I know that you've had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell us what that looked like and what that did for your confidence.
Woo-wee. Man, what was it? 2 years. It was about 2 years after my mom passed. It was about a year and a half after she passed. I was leaving an event in Miami, Florida, Key West, Florida. And while I was at this event, I started having this massive headache. And then my family physician in Indianapolis, he was just treating it as a sinus infection. Like, he gave me so many antibiotics, it wouldn't go away, that on my last doctor appointment with him, I had to let him go after this. But after the last doctor appointment, he sent me home with the 90-count bottle of Aleve because he didn't know what was wrong with me. So going through that process, and then being told that after a biopsy, I had to get put to sleep, get a biopsy on my head and neck, and they found a piece of tissue in my throat cavity at the back of the skull that came up as stage 4 nasopharyngeal cancer. When I heard that diagnosis, I was like, yo, I guess about to go see my mom. My mom passed in 2009. This diagnosis happened on April 20th of 2011. So just a little bit over 2 years after my mom passed, I'm like, well, I guess I get to go be reunited. That's where my head was at. And honestly, even at that time period, looking back at it then, I was comfortable with that because I was really depressed after my mom passed. But going through that process, losing the hair, losing my taste buds for a year, losing a lot of the teeth in the back part of my mouth because of the radiation, which is melting away everything. That was heavy. That was heavy. That shot my confidence so low. It's tough that when you're going through this cancer process, especially if it's in the head and neck area, is that when you have to feed yourself every day, you got to feed yourself through a feeding tube. Like, and I'm a bigger guy. I'm 6'7". Back then I was 6'7", about 325. When they first diagnosed me, I was way heavier than that. I ain't gonna say what the scale was, but I was a lot heavier than my college weight. But feeding myself through a feeding tube in my stomach and not being able to swallow because of the head and neck radiation, like that was confidence shifting like no other. Let me tell you, like that right there, man, I'm getting a little emotional thinking about it. Like that right there, that can really tear away at the fabric of who you are as a person. And if you're not strong-willed and strong-minded, it can destroy you as a person. And thank God, people like the American Cancer Society, Susan G. Komen Relay for Life, and Fairhaven Foundation in Indianapolis. If it wasn't for those three organizations, I don't even think mentally I would be half the person I am today. I remember one time, one treatment, my driver from the American Cancer Institute, he came banging on my door because he called me an hour earlier talking about, hey, I'm about to come pick you up. The doctors called and said you were too weak to drive, so I'm going to come pick you up. He got to my apartment in downtown Indianapolis, started banging on the door. I just yelled at him. I said, I'm not doing it, man. Like, I'm ready to go. Like, I'm going to see my mom. I'm like, I'm not doing it. He actually went and got a maintenance guy to get a key to go get in my apartment. He physically dragged me out the bed, like helped me put on my shirt and put me in the car and took me to IU Hospital Cancer Institute downtown. And like he's like, nah. He said, bro, you got way more to give in this world. So he said, just get through it for the next few months. And like that was my first test of how confident I could be if it wasn't for that gentleman. I reached out to the American Cancer Institute last year just to see if they had that driver's information because I no longer have his number. And I'm just like, if it wasn't for him dragging me out of my bed, I was prepared not to go back and get no more head and neck radiation. I was done with chemo. Like chemo is a terrible feeling for your body, especially when you have it on the scale that they couldn't give me any more chemo than what I was getting. So that was like an outer body experience. My confidence was shot. Like I didn't want people coming to my apartment to see me. I didn't want people coming to the hospital to see me. All my friends and family in the Indianapolis area. Man, I'll let probably 5 people over that year and a half come see me in that state because I feel like I'm like, man, I'm on my way out. I just shrunk down to like 200 pounds. Like, if you know me, I'm a big guy, 6'7" and 200 pounds. Like that's littler than Jordan. Like, think about that. That's littler than Jordan. And my head's already big, so I'm like, oh my god, now I'm skinny with a big head. Like, bruh, like I look like an alien. So yeah, just going through that process. And relearning and retraining my mind to see me in a different light than what the mirror was giving off, that took a lot. That took a lot. And then shortly after, I got the clearance to go back into my work field, and that I got to ring the bell at the Simon Cancer Institute downtown that said I was cancer free. I took the opportunity to go to North Carolina for a radio position. I was only out there for a hot second, and it didn't work out. And then I left North Carolina to go to Toledo, Ohio. And I started feeding that confidence back into me. I started getting interviews with celebrities. I got to interview Barack Obama. And like that kind of stuff started feeding back into me at a time where, man, I wasn't confident back then. I was like the first 2 things I got to taste that I was able to taste after cancer was mustard and coffee. And I was putting mustard on everything. I don't care what it was. Like, man, like I remember one time one of my buddies, I ain't even gonna say his name because he's gonna probably hop on and he's gonna share this. Be like, that was me. But he came to my apartment. He's like, bro, why you got mustard on your fingers? I'm sitting there just eating mustard because I could taste it. I hadn't tasted food in a year. So I'm like, that's the first 2 things was coffee and mustard. When I started tasting those, I never drank coffee before then because my mom always told me it stunts your growth. I want you to be 7 feet tall. It's stunts your growth. Don't drink coffee. So I never drank it until I became like 22, 23 years old. So those two things, still to this day, I got mustard all in here. Honey mustard everywhere. Like it's a part of who I am now. Like, hey, you want mustard? What you put mustard on? Put it on that steak. You got mustard for my steak? Like, all that. Like, mustard on everything.
Ah, that's so funny. One, it makes me think of my daughter because she puts ranch on everything. Like we had fried fish the other week, and my husband was like, "What you got the ranch out for?" And she's like, "For my fish." And he was like, "Ugh, ranch on your fish." And then it makes me think of the Lil Wayne line whenever what song was that? Where he was like, and want to leave when they see you out of mustard.
Yeah, I'm the reason y'all out of mustard. Yeah, that's me. That's me. I put mustard on everything.
Yes.
Don't even like mustard,
but I
put it on there.
I mean, I get it because I think I would lose my mind if I couldn't eat because I love to eat food, snacks. Like, I just love food in a healthy way.
Right,
you know?
right. I feel
you can have a toxic relationship with food too.
I hear you. I'm right there with you.
You can easily bribe me with food and snacks, okay? So I just love that. And then your ability to speak with it with humor today, just congratulations.
Thank you.
That is amazing.
Thank you.
For you to be here and just being willing to overcome and stick it through. And shout out to your driver that was willing to be the light at the end of the tunnel whenever you were ready to just lay down inside the tunnel.
Man.
That goes right back to what you said about you never know who needs what you're giving.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that we show up as our best selves whenever we can, because it can potentially be the literal meaning between life or death for someone.
This is true.
Yeah. We just needed a moment of somberness. Yes. So tell us, what are you into now? Do you have anything going on that the people need to know about?
Right now, I'm really into my two sons, Harlem and Dallas. My boys are my life. My son, Dallas, he was born deaf. So I'm doing a lot of things for the deaf community, learning sign language, whether he's at his school in Indianapolis or his school here in Louisville. Just getting more involved in that culture. It's a lot more of, I don't mean the stereotype, but it's a lot more of us that are infected by the sign language community, the ASL community, more than I ever imagined. And now that I'm around that culture, I'm like, it's a lot of us that need sign language, and I never knew that before then. So just being able to be a part of that community and putting a familiar face and a name with that community, like that's all I'm about right now. My son Harlem, eventually trying to get him into playing baseball. Like I need you to retire your daddy at a young age. Like get out there and play some baseball. We're gonna get you drafted in high school. We're gonna go live happily ever after. Like I need but my two boys, that's my lifeline. Outside of that, I have a company that I launched at the top of the pandemic. It's called Hustle Brand Company. It's a digital marketing company. Everything from logo design. If you need a TV commercial, if you need anything promotional, digital analytics, come straight through me. Black-owned business, one-man show. I do it all. Yep, I do it all. So I have a lot of fun creating content. That's like my favorite thing to do outside of reading and traveling. Like as soon as I hop off this interview, I'm actually about to call a client now. But like, hey, let's do something new. I see you got a new T-shirt coming out. Let me get something popping for you. So creating content through hustlebrandcompany.com. That's one of my favorite things to do. And then making sure that my relationships and partnerships with iHeart Media and the clients that I serve here in Indianapolis and here in Louisville, just making sure they're getting what they're receiving. And then us as a company is getting what we're receiving too. Because at the end of the day, it's all about making sure that everybody's eating. Everybody got to eat. Everybody got to eat.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love it. And don't worry, guys. We'll have all of that info in the show notes so that you can get you some Hustle Brand Media in your life, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So where can the folks contact you if they want to follow you? Because sometimes you be posting some funny posts.
Man, I'm wild. Like, to think about it, my posts, I be saying the stuff that I'm afraid to say out in public. That's why I use social media to say it. Like, I ain't gonna say this because y'all gonna think I'm crazy, but let me put these thumbs to work. On social media, make sure you follow me at Juan Hustle. That's JUAN, just like a Mexican. Hustle, HUSTLE. Juan Hustle on all social media platforms. You can also go to hustlebrandcompany.com. Again, that's hustlebrandcompany.com. As a matter of fact, everybody that follows me on social media and tags me on this video, I'm going to follow y'all back because I need some new faces to see and interact with. Because we gonna make sure this is popping. Because Miss Lindsey Vertner, childhood friend, is popping. We pop together. Woo woo.
Yes, poppity pop, pop, pop. Okay.
You already know.
Thank you for being a phenomenal guest. Look, didn't I tell y'all y'all was just gonna love Mr. Juan Hustle? Okay, he has always just had a smile on his face, and I smile when I see him, and I remember just the smiling back in the day, and I'm sure you have gotten many smiles from this episode. So
I definitely did.
Hit it on the replay, share it out on social media. Also, make sure you join the Patreon community so that you can get bonus footage, a little bit more of Juan Hustle, all right? And you can get access to our First Class Favorites list that you need in your life to help you, get what you need to get. So, yes, absolutely. Thank you again. Make sure you connect with Juan Hustle on social media. Again, all of that info will be in the description down in the show notes. So make sure you check it out. You don't have to try and remember it. But until next time, this is the First Class Life Podcast, your personal development show, because you desire to maximize your life while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. So until next time, bye, y'all.
Bye.
Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. But please be sure to subscribe to the First Class Life Show. And don't forget to rate, leave a review, and join our private community so that we can continue to provide you with great personal development conversations to help you maximize your impact while creating a life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness. You deserve it. Do you want to be surrounded by other high-achieving women who are working on their goals just like you? Are you looking for your circle that's passionate about their own growth yet still wants to see you shine? Do you desire to be supported through collaborations and connections instead of competition? Then Cowork and Chill is your place to be. Cowork and Chill is a hybrid of virtual co-working and virtual networking. It's a community of women who are striving to build living legacies. This is the space to create meaningful relationships with other equally yoked women where you're being poured into just as much as you pour out. So if you're looking for your crew for supportive accountability, then sign up today at coworkandchill.com. That's COWORKANDCHILL, coworkandchill.com.